Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village of Bartlett Committee of the Whole meeting for November 16, 2021. I call this meeting to order and again ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee DEYNE?
Here.
GANDSEY?
Here.
Gunstein?
Here.
HOPKINS?
Here.
Ranke?
Present.
Swale?
Here.
President Wallace?
Here. First item we have this evening is Community and Economic Development Committee Chairman GANDSEY.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the agenda, we have Hoelterhoff Nursery, a BEDA application. So Hoelterhoff Nursery has been in business in Bartlett for 56 years. It is a multi-generational family-run small business on the eastern edge of town. Applicants Keith and Sally Hoelterhoff are planning on replacing the business signs along the road and above the greenhouse door. Because new signage is considered an eligible expense for the BEDA program, staff recommends a $2,873.90 grant based upon the proposed $5,747.81 to be spent at Bartlett-based Mark Your Space to upgrade the signs. This request appeared before the Economic Development Commission at its October 11th meeting, at which time the EDC unanimously recommended in favor of the grant. So the recommendation is to forward this request for the BEDA grant for Hoelterhoff Nursery for a final vote at an upcoming village board meeting.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any at all.
I only have a question related to the BEDA grants because it seems like we haven't had any in a long time. Are there any others upcoming?
Yes, Trustee GANDSEY, there's a number of restaurant projects that we're working on now that we anticipate coming in the coming months. Can't say exactly when, but we'd like to see some of them coming in early 2022.
Okay. If we have until what month? Until May to?
Yeah, yes,
okay.
we budget them every fiscal year. We've only had 2 grants come through before the board so far this year. They've only amounted to $3,000 total. One was for a sign and one was for some outdoor dining. And that's one of the reasons we recommended the 50% amount for Hoelterhoff's. One of the reasons.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we'll push that on to the next board meeting for a vote. Thank you, Chairman GANDSEY. Building and Zoning Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Wallace. We have 2 items on our agenda. The first item is the Bartlett Auto Mall. The petitioner is requesting a preliminary and final PUD plan to allow a 2-car dealership and a parking lot and storage of a new and pre-owned vehicles associated with this proposed dealership. With that, I will turn it over to Ms. Roberta Grill to give us a rundown.
Thank you, Trustee Hopkins. So the petitioner is here tonight requesting an overall preliminary and final PUD plan for, as Trustee DEYNE mentioned earlier, the west and east parcels to allow 2-car dealerships on the west parcel and parking and storage of new and pre-owned vehicles on the east parcel. They are also requesting text amendments to add off-site parking and storage of new and pre-owned vehicles for motor vehicle dealerships to the list of special uses in the zoning ordinance in the B3 neighborhood shopping and the B4 community shopping districts. The petitioner is requesting to rezone the 6.2-acre west parcel to the B3 PUD and a planned unit development to allow 2 principal buildings on 1 zoning lot. The PUD plan for this site identifies a 55,000 square foot Hyundai dealership and an 18,000 square foot Genesis dealership. Each building will have a showroom, sales offices, and a service department, and the Hyundai building would also include a car wash that would be utilized by both facilities. The maximum height of the Hyundai building is 34 feet, and the Genesis building is just over 19 feet. The location of the 2 existing full-access curb cuts on West Lake Street will not change, and as you know, Lake Street is under the jurisdiction of IDOT, and the plans have been sent to IDOT for their review. We have yet to hear comments back from them. The parking area on the south side of the building will be enclosed with a 6-foot-tall black vinyl-clad chain-link fence. And they are also asking for special use permits to allow a planned unit development, automobile and truck sale, automobile repair, a car wash, and the building height. So there is a 14-foot wide landscape buffer being provided on the west side of the property, along here. Whoops, and then this is what the dealership looks like. There's some more renderings. This would be the Hyundai facility here, the front elevation, and then the front elevation of the Genesis building here. And so the petitioner is proposing to reimburse the 3 residential property owners to the west the cost of installing additional landscaping on their property to help screen the parking area. And then along the south side, the petitioner has also agreed to install a double row of 8-foot-tall evergreen trees in the buffer between the parking area and the residential lots to the south. Staff has also asked that shields be put on the lights in the back parking lot to help direct the light straight down, so as not to provide glare or nuisance to the neighboring properties. So going back to the east parcel, let's see, let me take you to the east parcel. This parcel is also going to be rezoned to the B3 PUD district. This plan identifies 891 parking spaces for storage of new and used vehicles. There would be a full access curb cut off of Horizon Drive to the west and along the frontage road to the north. The lot would be enclosed with a 6-foot-tall chain link fence, and each curb cut would be gated. Special use permits are also being requested to allow the off-site parking and storage of new and pre-owned vehicles and to fill a 0.09 acre wetland. So I'd like to take you back to this drawing. So it's very important for the petitioner to transport vehicles back and forth between the 2 sites, between the west parcel and the east parcel. Let me see if I can get my pointer here. And so I'd like to show you the route that how they would transport the vehicles from this east parcel. They would, let's say they are coming out on Horizon. They would exit to the frontage road, enter on eastbound Lake Street, then utilize the ramp to 59 and head northbound, the north ramp back eastbound westbound, on Lake Street, and then enter the mountable median for a safe turn left into the site. So staff is proposing that they sign the property, this east parcel, so that all vehicular traffic would turn right and not turn left and utilize Horizon and Spalding through the neighborhood, and they have agreed to do that. We are currently reviewing the engineering, landscape, and photometric plans for both parcels, and the petitioner's counsel is here tonight to answer any specific questions that you might have.
Is there any questions from the committee?
I had a, Roberta, can you go back to the rendering that shows right there?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got this is the Genesis that you're highlighting right now?
This is the Hyundai.
It's the Hyundai Genesis.
Mm-hmm. And then here's the Genesis building. It is smaller.
Right, so is the repair facility behind, in the back of these?
Yes, it is.
And then where's behind the new car showrooms, right?
Yes.
So then where's the car wash?
I believe it's also towards the back near the service area. It's enclosed inside with the service department. I actually believe I have some floor plans. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Please.
I'm John Swark with DDCA Architects. The question about the car wash is that it is internal in the rear of the Hyundai dealership, and both dealerships have their own service bays in the back of the showrooms.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there a used car facility here, or no?
No, not this time.
And can you, where are these 3 houses that are impacted? Can you show me that somewhere on a map?
On the bottom of that drawing, oops, go back one.
So You can barely see it on the west side here. There's 3 lots, 1, 2, and 3 along the west side.
The ones right behind it, we're going to put in
And
some
to the south,
landscaping right south of it, right?
right, these are the ones to the south.
And then the 3, what we're going to do for them, what was that again?
I'm sorry?
The 3 houses to the west, how are we going to?
So we're still working on buffering. They have actually worked with staff to increase the size of the buffer. Originally, it came in at 5 feet. They've enlarged it to 14 feet. And they are providing money to offer to the homeowners to the west to install additional landscaping to help buffer their property, help buffer the property for the parking lot.
I think 14 feet
trees.
is more than adequate, so.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I just want to thank the petitioners. This is much needed improvements on both of these lots, so thank you for presenting these plans to us. Is there any more comments from the committee?
Nope.
Then we will forward this to the Plan Commission for them to review and to conduct the public hearing.
And I think we're anticipating a special meeting on, what, the 15th possibly? Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. You get a car. We are, to make the timing work for the dealership and the agreements that they have, our December 21st meeting is too late, so we are looking to have a meeting that is after the Plan Commission's public hearing, but before that 21st. So we're looking at December 14th or December 15th.
Will this come right back to the board then for review or to vote on?
It'll be that night.
Yeah, it'll be that's what the special meeting will be for the board's review.
And vote. Yeah. And vote on an ordinance.
Okay.
2 words.
Thank you, Mr. Bezos.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.
The next thing we have on our agenda is the Bartlett Overlay District. With this, I will definitely turn this over to staff, and I wish I had popcorn. No.
Okay. So a couple months ago, the board directed staff to provide you with some background information and data for a discussion focusing on the minimum parking requirements that we currently utilize in the downtown overlay district. I've reached out to Leslie Oberholzer, who is with Codometrics, who managed the overlay district project, and she guided the steering committee to draft the code. And attached is her memo. Also, I provided you with a great deal of scanned paper documents that provide you the rationale behind the 1.25 minimum parking requirement that was adopted as part of the overlay. I've also attached a memo from the village's traffic consultant, Lynn Means, and she has provided us additional data that supports the 1.25 parking requirement, and she has included other residential TOD projects in the Chicago area and their corresponding parking ratios. Lynn is here tonight, so if you have any specific questions or if you'd like her to go over her memo with you, she can, or if you have any other questions on any of the data that I've provided.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I just think it's important that people, especially residents, understand that they don't take this lightly, that there's really some research behind when we say 1.25, and this really does a good job of explaining that, so thank you.
Yeah. Is there any other comments?
Have we heard from Metro? How has their parking increased or ridership?
They had part of that on Metro. Yep.
The latest information from Metro is that they are at 30% of their ridership.
Yeah.
Is there any other direction that we'd like to give the staff on this?
I'm looking forward to having the apartment go up and get filled so that we can then do an analysis of how that's impacting the parking downtown.
Yeah.
Because right now, we don't, it's there, it's allotted for, but it's not there and it's not impacting anything.
We'll discuss this again after the apartment's built and we see how their parking situation turns out.
I like it.
How is that project coming along?
We've been in contact with them. We've got to get the plat of consolidation recorded. We're waiting on the covenant agreement to get revised. We're very close. And engineering. Those are the three items we're waiting on.
Hitchhiking on what trustee, say, pardon me, I've heard nothing but delay with some of the contractors that I know in the area because of, and pricing. The pricing has just skyrocketed. And I'm wondering if that's could affect this development also. Have you had any feedback at all?
Not on
That
this
would
particular
tie in.
project, but he's got a lot of underground he's got to do first before he even starts the construction. So it's going to be a little while, but yeah, I have heard that.
We'll wait and see.
All right, those are our only two items on our committee.
Thank you, Chairman Hopkins. Finance and Golf, Chairman DEYNE.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And what we're looking at here is the 2022 through 2026 proposed capital improvement program. And this is only for discussion. And please, Todd, if you would take the lead here.
Thank you, Chairman DEYNE. I'm going to turn it over to Dan Dinges, Public Works Director. He's going to go over some of the projects from last year, the projects that we're proposing for next year, which will be the capital budget that would roll into our operating budget, and we'll highlight some of the other projects that are going on, the progress that are being made.
Good evening, everyone. I'll point out pages that I'm on so you guys can, and I think Todd will also put it up on the screen. I was just going to start out on page 190, which is just a summary for this year's projects, 21, 22. If you've been out and about, we've finished paving our streets actually today. They still have to do the corrective asphalt material. They'll be spraying actually this week, and then striping, hopefully weather permitting, we'll be able to get the striping done next week. We did our water main project. We've completed most of the stuff, and I just got word today on the Bittersweet wastewater treatment plant. The contractor, J.J. Henderson, is looking to break ground on the week of 12/6. They want to try to get in, get some footings in before winter hits hard, hopefully. So that's the plan. That one will get started shortly. Are there any questions on this year's projects? If not, I'll move on to what we have planned for next year, which is the next page. 22, 23, this is just the summary page of all water, sewer, streets, and other projects. I'll go into each division and with more detail, starting with water, which is on page 196. So this is the summary of what we have planned in the capital program on the water side. We continue with the water main replacement program. We've got some water tower paintings scheduled. We've got on the infrastructure improvements, we still have the Stearns Road pump station to rehab. That's actually getting ready to go out to bid right now. And it'll likely kind of carry over this year into next year. And then the meter change out is one of the things that we changed. We got some freshened numbers, and it's looking like that number is bigger than what we anticipated, so we're looking to spread that out and do like $1 million per year for over a 6-year period. It'll help soften the blow as far as putting up a larger project. And it also allows us, if you remember, that's where we're looking to do the automatic meter reads, where we would install the antennas up front and then just keep installing meters as we go. And the more meters that we install, the less we have to do driving around. So we would pick neighborhoods and just start chipping away at it type thing.
Are you going to need... Quick question. When I was at the IML conference, obviously they have booths set up and different products. There were several different companies there touting their products for their water meters. Mm-hmm. Is there a way the board can be briefed on which ones that you guys would like to install and what the benefits, the pros and the cons are? And
yes,
I know we also talked about possibly, I know we have a lot of stuff to wait for, but possibly using the bonds that we had set up for the sewer treatment plant, maybe expedite our water meter program. One reason I think that would be a good idea is in 2024 and 25, we had the lead service replacement plan scheduled. It would be good to actually go into the homes and change these meters so we can identify the homes with the lead services and actually take an account for them. Because right now, we're just relying on homeowners to fill out a survey, and if they don't fill out the survey and they just see Village of Bartlett and they put it in the recycling bin and they don't actually read it, their service may not get changed out. So I think it's pretty imperative that we actually get on the water meter change out before we change these lead services out, so we don't lose out on some of the IEPA loans that we could have with the lead service replacement.
Yeah, I was going to actually touch on that. So, so as far as the water meter change out, yes, we can bring in other manufacturers. One thing with spreading it out over more years and putting a system in, one thing we were looking at is the current vendor that we have, because then you don't have to run two systems for 6 years. So that's one of the things that we'll be looking at, but there are multiple meter manufacturers out there. We've actually talked to several of them already, and we can bring in, we're kind of going through and looking at the pros and cons, and then we can kind of sort through, and if we can bring them to the board meeting and kind of have the preferred list, if you will, give their pros and cons for their system. We definitely can do that. As far as the lead service replacement program, I'm happy you brought that up, because one of the things is I've been sitting through seminars trying to figure out everything, and there's timing issues on it. And there's a couple of different approaches that municipalities are doing. We're fortunate in the fact that we believe we're in that 200 to 250, not like Chicago or Aurora or Elgin or Joliet. They have thousands. So we're relatively under control as far as what we have to deal with. But there's a few different things. We do have it in there as far as lead, in 24, 25 is where we have it shown right now, and that would be a loan program. With all this infrastructure money that's going out, one of the big items is lead replacement. Everything that we're hearing is it is going to be through the IEPA low-interest loan program. For a while there, they were doing like a loan forgiveness. I don't know how much of that will be available. We would obviously pursue that if it's available, but there's a couple different approaches. We could get into the loan program and try to knock it out in a year, let's say. The other option is, the requirement is we have to do 7% per year. So you could look at your 250, let's say, and do 7% per year, which comes out to about 20, let's say. You could do 20 a year, and then you're spreading it out over a long period. So it's a matter of how you want to hit, because if we take out a loan, we have to pay that loan back. So those are some feedback we need to get to know which way to go. I think it doesn't hurt. One of the first steps for the loan program is putting this project plan together. We actually have been working on that. We're ready to submit it, but I wanted to find out what direction the board would like us to go. We could get into the hopper on the loan. Doesn't mean we have to take it if we don't want to. So those are the things. I paired it up with the water tower that we're anticipating, because they said you can pair it up with projects, and I'd rather do one project than two small ones, because the loan process is long and very tedious. So those are some of the things to think about. The other big item is, so we have 250 services. I assume the board wants to go from meter to main. The question is that 100% village funded, or are we asking residents for any of that? There is the ability, technically the ownership ends at the B box. So it's the homeowners from the B box to the meter. We have currently a 50-50 program where people that have lead services, the village would pay for half to replace all the way to the meter. I will say most of the municipalities I've been talking to, Montgomery actually went through and just said, let's just get rid of them. They didn't have that many. So they paid 100% meter to main, and got done with it. So those are some big ticket items. We're talking probably in that $10,000 to $12,000 per service. So times by 250, it adds up quick.
You think there's about 200, give or take?
We're anticipating, one of the things, we have been doing the survey, and you're right, we don't get a great response, so we actually, right before COVID hit, we were actually sending guys out, making appointments to have us go and verify. We're planning to do that again, because we have to, as part of this process that the EPA has put together. We have to have our survey completed in the next couple of years. And it would be a good time. So that's why when I looked at breaking up the meter change out, my plan is, depending on what we're doing, changing out lead services, I would save that meter change out and do the services at the same time. So bother the residents once, get in, put the new service in, put a new meter in, we're done. So that's kind of what I was thinking as far as dealing with that whole situation. But yeah, so those are some big items. I don't know.
What have you seen from other municipalities with the IEPA loan forgiveness?
That was happening early on, and then they put a stop to it because everybody started applying for it. Everything we're hearing now is it's all going to go through the revolving loan. Now, whether they're going to have some loan forgiveness on top of that, it's going to get down to need. And I don't know how well Bartlett qualifies for that. That's our problem, so.
We were cost sharing with the lead service, weren't we?
We do have right now our program is a 50-50. Mm-hmm. So the village would pay, if it's a $10,000, we pay $5,000, they pay $5,000. We had one person actually do it this past year, but that's it so far. We've had other interest, but when they start looking at the dollars, they say, I don't even drink the water anyway. So it's hard to compete with that. But
how many homes have you identified?
We have about half of them identified as galvanized, lead, and then there's unknowns. Yeah. We have the map that, it's based on the year, so we have that area. We know that most of it is in the downtown, old part of town. And like I said, we were doing pretty good knocking on, basically setting up appointments, having our guys go in and do the scratch test to verify what they have. And then we haven't gotten back to it because of COVID and everything else. People didn't want us in their house. But we're hoping to get back into that if we can get rid of, I think if the mask mandate, most of our guys have been vaccinated, so they're willing to do it. It's whether the residents are willing to allow us in. But we were going to start making those calls again and try to get that scheduled.
Lead in water has it'll affect you other than drinking, right?
It's mainly if you drink the water that has lead in it. You can shower and that, and it doesn't
affect
the impacts, but it's mainly about drinking and, making food with it.
Hey, I have a question on the water meter. You said it's about $10,000
No.
It's about, roughly, because we average it because you have, like, if a water main's on, let's say, the east side of the road, you got long services and short services, depending on what side of the house you're in. So the average is about $10,000 per service. So from the main to the house, it'll end up costing somewhere in that $10,000 to $12,000 range.
And at a shared cost, it would be $5,000 to the homeowner?
Yeah, if you say 10,000, right now we have a 50-50 program, so the village pays 5, the resident pays another 5. So.
I probably wouldn't return my survey either.
So, I mean, that's the question. If we want to get these done, does the village want to say we're paying 100%, then I think you'll get more cooperation if they know that.
What happens if they don't, even if you say 100% and they don't want it?
And towns have told us that have gone through it, you still will get those people, and the EPA has said as long as you get them to sign a waiver saying you've been offered and you're refusing, then you're meeting the requirements.
And would that, like, if they went to sell the house, would that be, like,
It will impact, they will have to disclose that. And when if anybody does research and finds out that they could have gotten it, then, you know.
I think there's a lot of unknown variables. Since we don't know, I think we need to do a hard survey, and I think one way to do that is to knock on everyone's door, and we need to go there anyway for the meter change out. So I think one way to do it is to spend money on a survey, and that money's pretty much lost, or we can do it with another program, like the meter change out. So I think you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and we can get a hard number on what it costs. I think having numbers in front of us that we can look at are what we need. I think we're just throwing a dart at the wall. I know you put a budget amount of $2.6 million on this. Is that what you think, or is that just guessing?
That's our best guess at this point, yes.
So I know we've spread this meter change out starting in 2022, but I think maybe we should try to move that up a little bit and find some funds somewhere to pay for that so we can identify the lead services. I think it should be a top priority to remove lead from service pipes. I think, I mean, yeah, you can't make a homeowner do it, but I think we need to make our best effort in doing so.
Lead service removal is one of the things that was specifically noted for ARP money, so we'll probably look at using some of those funds for that.
But you had said to move the meter change out up earlier. We have 1 million budgeted for 22-23. I don't know what. I haven't run the numbers of how many meters are in that area that we think is where the lead services are. Or are you saying you want all the meters changed out next year so that we would change out everything and we'd know what's where?
I think we need to look at costs. I think, you know, where we get the funds from, how many meters is actually realistic to change out in a year, what meter we're going with. I think there's a lot of variables. So there's definitely should be some discussion once we get some hard facts and figures and numbers, and yeah, I don't think we're going to solve it.
All right, because when you conduct the survey, how are you conducting it? Are you actually knocking on the door, or?
No, all they do is just send a letter to your house.
Oh, we aren't relying on that survey anymore. We're setting up an appointment. We're calling, saying we need to come in and verify your service. We need to it's a 15-minute appointment. So that's what we were doing. That's what we anticipate on doing again this winter, and try to get through that 200.
Dan, it's in that in-person visit and test that you've verified half of those?
Right. We've verified we were making good progress, and then COVID hit, and we weren't going anywhere anymore.
Oh.
So we want to get back into that program so that we can verify that it's 201 or whatever the number is, you know. So we can continue that this winter, hopefully, and get through that list. Then we'll have a better number, and then we can bring it back to the board to decide how we want to approach the meter change out along with the lead service change out, whether you put them together or not.
Okay.
You know,
When do you think you'll have that info?
it all depends on how long it takes us to get through those appointments.
Okay.
It'll take time because I know, you know, just trying to set up those appointments, people, you know, it's not the easiest thing, but we'll try to get through it.
Fantastic.
I do have a question about the appointments real quick. Is there a way to incorporate those appointments through our automated system? Is there a way to incorporate those appointments through our, like, automated permit system where it schedules it? To help facilitate, some direction and save time, just, you know, randomly scheduling things, where it can be scheduled, they can call in and say this date works for us and this time?
I would have to check out this permit software. I'm not sure if it would be able to do that or not.
Pretty simple, user-friendly software for the homeowner for permits, so I think it would be something to look at.
Might be able to use something similar that we use in HR for setting up interviews and use something like that.
Okay.
You can take a look at that.
All right, is there anything else on water? The other programs are pretty much what we've been working.
The plan is to take the water tower down on Oneida?
So the plan, based on the feedback I think we received from the strategic plan, is to remove the Oneida Tower. That's why we have not pursued. I've been getting calls on when you're going to paint it, and I've been telling them the plan right now is to have it removed.
Is it currently being used?
Yes.
If
When
it,
does that phase out?
So the plan right now, we're trying to find where. So we have that scheduled for 24-25.
when?
Because if you, we're also looking in 24-25, the new water tower. So that's 500,000 gallons. The water study, when we went to Lake Michigan, anticipated a 1 million gallon storage future. So the plan would be to build a 1.5 to make up the Oneida removal. Hopefully, the ideal spot right now is to replace the Kent Circle, so we would actually remove the Kent Circle tower as well, put a new tower there, a bigger one.
Didn't we just paint that not long ago?
Painted about 6 years ago, so it would be 10 years by the time we get there, but again, that's a small tower that, you know, it's not actually being utilized right now because when I first started, CBI, who's the manufacturer of the tower, did an inspection of it and said it's not worth fixing because it had rusted out.
Circle?
What's that?
Kent Circle?
The Kent Circle, yeah.
What size is 500,000 gallons, you said?
Kent Circle is only 1 1/4, I think, 125,000.
What were you anticipating putting there?
It would be like a 1.5 million.
How would the neighbors perceive that?
Well, that's the whole question. We have to go through that whole process. If we get a lot of opposition, the backup is we have a site, I believe, reserved just south of the fire station on West Bartlett. It's just not as strategically placed. It's a better location at Kent Circle, more centrally located. I anticipate getting some pushback from the residents, but they've had a tower there for many, many years too. But
I'm not a engineer by any stretch of the imagination, but the water tower that you want to remove on Oneida, that currently it's elevated because it creates pressure for people's homes.
right.
So where's the next nearest water tower that's going to create that pressure for all the homes in that area?
All of the towers create pressure. One of the problems we have right now is the elevations of the towers are not the same.
Okay.
Oneida actually is lower than the rest. So Oneida right now is a limiting factor because if we tried to fill up all the other towers to where they should be, Oneida overtops. So ideally, Oneida goes away, we get a new tower that matches up with Schick and Southwind, and then we can fully utilize all those towers, and then the pressure is we'll have it modeled for sure.
Yeah.
Sure that we're not reducing pressures. We actually were able to increase the pressure zone in the Oak corridor, what I call corridor by the fire station. We were able to actually push that to the high pressure side, and we look to do more of that in that area. It's just, whenever you make adjustments on pressure zones, you run into problems with pressure in mains. So we try to do a little at a time and ease our way into it, but, so. It would definitely be modeled and make sure that we're not gonna impact any of that, so. Anything else on water? All right, the next is on sewer, which is on 214. And this is the summary. I think you guys all know the projects that we are working on. There we've got our SSES, Devon. I know there's discussion on when the Devon project should happen or if it will even happen. I will say we're in conversation with MWRD, so I definitely think it should be pushed back until we get a response back from MWRD and work out whatever we're able to work out there. I did check in with them to see if they received our request letter. They have, and they are working on putting a response back, so hopefully we will get that shortly and we'll know which way to go from there. And then we've got our lift station projects, which is rehabbing of the existing lift stations that we've got. The one that we have been working on this year and it's going to roll into next year is the Herrick House, which is down by Maryville on West Bartlett. It also includes replacing the force main. And then the other ones are just some of the other stations that we have that need to be, we've been converting all of the dry pit the stations to submersible stations, making it safer for everyone that has to maintain them. And then I've already talked about the Bittersweet project, hopefully starting next month.
When do you anticipate moving the Devon excess flow plant? Move it to,
I mean, I'm open to moving, I mean, we can move it to whatever year we need. It's gonna get down to what are we able to work out with MWRD and whether we need to spend any of that money on a project, whatever that project may be or not.
So one of the big reasons it hasn't started is because prices have escalated since we've taken out the bonds, and from the time we sent it to bid, or we haven't even sent it to bid, the engineering just got finished, what, a month ago?
The engineering is pretty much complete. We've been holding on to it because of pricing PVC. We're looking to use, force main would be PVC. We're gonna probably do PVC pricing and ductile iron pricing. But yeah, everything I was getting feedback on is those prices are high, so I've pushed it off because we don't.
What does it push the cost to roughly from 8.2 to what now?
Actually, I just got an updated number from the engineer and they think it's still in that ballpark. But there's a lot of caveats because they don't know. Everything that they're saying right now is the lead time on the PVC and the lead time on the pumps. So I don't know what the contractors will do with their bids when they have those type of lead times. We have time on it, so if we were to go out to bid, I would give them plenty of time so they don't have to worry about the lead times, that hopefully they would reflect that in their prices. I just don't have a good feel. I've been trying to talk to all the consultants to say, hey, have you bid? And a lot of people are in the same boat. They're just kind of waiting things out to see if the prices come down at all.
I think we definitely need to take that bond money and spend it on another project, because right now we're paying interest on a bond we're not using. And also, I don't think the residents can afford this project. I think when you guys put your side-by-side comparison up of other Cook County communities, we pay more than double what other communities pay. And once you factor in the DuPage side, Bartlett Cook County pays 3 times what they pay. So I think this project is cost prohibitive, and I think we need to go to the IEPA and say we just can't afford it, because honestly, we can't. We're taxing our residents to death, and this project, it's just not financially feasible. There's a reason why our streets aren't paved in gold. There's a reason why we don't have 300 police officers. Cost prohibitive. You can't just fund everything. And so if the IEPA wants to give us grant money to do this, we'll be more than happy to do it. But we just can't afford it. So I think that this project, A, should be eliminated, but if we want to keep it in the budget, just to keep it in there until we can get a grant, we can do it then.
Well, I think your point about getting a full picture with the meters applies here too. I think we need to see what the response is from MWRD, because if that volume changes, then our solution changes. And I would caution against spending that bond money until we at least have that answer and have the opportunity to evaluate it.
I just look at it a little differently, because right now bond rates are at 2.5, and when you got this 2 years ago, we're paying 5% currently. 5% right now is, I understand.
Yeah, I want to just point out that when I sent you the bond information, the coupons on the bonds are 5%, but the bonds are sold at a premium. So the total actual interest rate is about 2.8%, 2.79%.
That's overall. That's once you're paying the bond payments, correct?
That's the total cost to us.
That's the cost of the bonds.
This year?
For the life of the bonds. That's our.
We're talking about what did we pay on interest on that money last year?
We pay it as we go.
Well, what I said was the coupon on the bonds, we pay 5% on the coupon, but we were paid upfront money in a premium to pay that interest back. So when we issued $7.8 million in bonds, we received $8.5 million. So when you say 5%, that's not really our cost.
No. You're factoring the cost over the life of the bond.
The easiest way to explain it is, it costs, if you took out a loan, the price would be, for this particular investment, 2.8% for the village, total, completely.
I'm not talking about completely, because we refinance bonds all the time. So what did we pay on the interest last year?
We're actually negative now. We're probably,
we paid.
As we get paid a premium for the bond.
Yeah, they pay us, we receive over $700,000 in a premium, so that reduces our interest cost through the life of the bonds. So we received $8.5 million. We're paying interest on less than $8 million, more like $7.8 million. So I can pull up I actually have you can't see this. So here's the first year that you're looking at, the maturity date, December 1, 2020, $945,000. Here's your coupon rate. This is the yield, 1.3. That's the actual percent that we paid on it, because there was a premium of $33,000 paid for those bonds. So that reduces our cost. So as you look over all of the bonds here, here's our yield. As they get longer term, then the interest rate increases. So down here at the end here, you see where the yield goes up to 2.9%, 3%. But that's towards the end. But because of these premiums over here, this column with this column of the premium that was paid, this is the combined bonds, this is the refunding and the sewer bonds all together. That's why there's $1,400,000 in premium paid just on the sewer. So here's the calculation sheet, stat sheet. So we received we sold $7,870,000 in par. We received $8,593,000. So here's your total interest, $3,200,000, but our net interest after the premium is really $2,500,000. So down here is our calculation. It shows your par, your premium.
I think it's easier, Todd, to use the term like net. Like the net cost to the village is 2.6, 2.4%, the net cost.
So let's just, what did this bond cost the Cook County taxpayers last year? What was the total dollar amount that we paid last year?
Well, okay, so the Cook County, they receive all the proceeds, right?
Yes.
Of the project. And then we're paying.
We're paying on it right now.
And then we pay back.
Yeah.
Right?
So what did we pay?
What was the actual principal and interest?
What was the principal and interest?
We pay about
payment?
$555,000 a year.
We pay
$555,000 to $557,000 a year.
So a little over $500,000 we're paying with principal and interest on a project we might not do for another 3 or 4 years.
No.
We may not do. That's what I'm saying. We're paying money for a project we're not doing. That's the issue I have. I understand we could eventually use it.
If you spend this money on something else and then you need to go out and borrow more money, then you're going to have, if you think the rates are high now, then you'll have 2 bond payments.
But we don't have to, it could be put in the general fund and you could spend it on the water meter program. You can spend it on other things. It doesn't have to be site-specific.
Yeah, right, but we weren't planning on taking out loans for the water meters. So you've got a bond payment, and then you would have to bond again if you were going to try to come up with another $8 million.
Well, that's what I mean. This project alone, it's not financially feasible. I would rather pay a fine to the IEPA than pay for this project. The plant only goes online 10 times a year. I mean, it's not feasible to do this project. You're taxing these residents that can't afford it. Look at what a Cook County resident pays on their sewer portion of their water bill and compare it to any other community in Cook County.
Okay,
it's more than double. Why? And we've gone over this.
I know you're talking about double, but we're talking $20 a month they pay right now. The average for 6,000 gallons is $20 a month, and it would go up to about $30 a month. Okay?
Yeah, and do you know what they pay on their tax bill for their sewage? Some residents pay over $1,000.
Right. If they're in a $900,000 house, it would be a property tax bill of about $1,000, and it would be about I think we're saying about $200 to $250 if they're in the $200,000 to $300,000 value house.
It's excessive compared to any other community.
And so our sewer rates, $20 a month right now, about $20 a month for 6,000 gallons.
That's the key point.
I
think we've discussed this a lot, and I think we've discussed it, and we've already voted on this issue. I wish that Trustee Hopkins could take this aside and talk to Dan and to Todd, because we've all discussed this until we're blue in the face.
Actually, this current board, I don't think, has voted on it, but regardless.
We approved the project. This board did.
This current board didn't. This has been going on for 3 years.
And we're going to get the information from MWRD, right? So let's move on.
So what year are we going to push this out? 25, 26?
I think we can certainly, our capital improvements plan is a 5-year plan. And I would anticipate that we will be getting an answer from MWRD shortly. So I would suggest that we push it out the 1 year, and then if we need to push it out further or make some changes, we still have the capacity within the 5 years of the plan.
And I think we need to.
And when I say that, it's are we going to keep this plan that we have the alternative, or are we going to look at other things or other places to spend that bond money. The bond money is specific for sewer projects, so it does give us the flexibility to move it around.
When do you want to bring this back to the board for a vote?
It'll come the next meeting, right?
I would suggest moving the, that 8 million to 23, 24 and bring it back to the board for a vote. Also, you know, you can always modify, when we have the full information, but I would be able to then move with the capital, or I'm sorry, have the capital budget in the operating budget and keep us on track with that.
Yeah, what we vote on, what we bring to you to approve is only the 22-23 year. So if we move the Devon project out of the 22-23 year, then it's not being what's voted on. We vote on the first year of the capital budget, that's what rolls into the operating budget, which is a one-year plan.
I think what Trustee Hobbs, I don't want to put words in his mouth, he is asking when will the capital budget proposal come back for a vote?
It would come back our next meeting.
Next meeting, or we could do it in the second meeting in December, probably?
We could, yeah. What we're doing is, what we're proposing is pull the Devon project out of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be included what we'd be voting on. You're only voting on the 22-23 year.
Okay.
When we bring it forward.
Just to clarify, so if MWRD comes back and says they'll accept it, then just none of that would even happen, right? Then we would have to figure out what to do with it.
Yes, I mean, that's the ideal situation. MWRD says, yes, we'll take all of our excess flow. Then we can, as Trustee Hopkins said, now we have that money. We have the bond, we're paying that payment. Now we can figure out where we want to spend it, whether it's improving the sanitary, because I think if we are able to get MWRD to take the excess flow, it's going to be linked to us reducing our I&I. So I think my suggestion would be to put it in towards continuing to work on our I&I issue, which is doing the services, finishing off the mains, and all that stuff. But that'd be my recommendation.
So without being able to go back through slides, when we were talking about changing out the water meters then, and whether we're going to cost share with that or not, but we need to get some solid numbers before we make that determination. I think that's what we talked about, right? Or was suggested. Would that be part of the 22-23 that we're going to be voting on before we have solid numbers, or because I just don't have that slide in front of me.
The only one, as far as the meter change out, we had 1 million in 22-23. That would be under the board's approval. And in that, the bulk of that up front is going to be setting up the antenna system to be able to read meters throughout the village. That'll be a portion of it, and then starting to change out meters, whether that's in the area where we believe lead services are or wherever. But we would bring that stuff back to the board for review and approval.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can we move on then?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, streets is on
Right, we're on sewer?
226. I think we're done with sewer.
Great.
226 is our street program. It's our typical MFT maintenance program. I will point out on page 230 is the IDOT intersections. We've been talking about it a lot, but right now the Route 59 and West Bartlett Road intersection is due for a March letting. Hopefully it stays on track and they bid it in March, which means construction would likely start in this spring, summer. Our cost for that is we asked to add street lighting to the intersection to light up that intersection and make it safer. That is not something that IDOT typically does, and it would be the responsibility of the municipality. So we plan to use MFT funds for that. The other intersection, and it's just a resurfacing, but Route 25 is being resurfaced. They had it on the schedule, if you remember, they had it on the schedule, I think, last year or the year before. They ended up cutting it because their numbers came in high, and they did the north portion, and now they're coming back to do the south portion. We're anticipating our share will be for the emergency vehicle preemption, and we're hoping to get the crosswalk PED signals included as part of that project. But we're working with them on that.
Are they doing any other improvement, are we planning any other improvements to 25 and Bartlett Road?
Not right now. They do not I know we want to get the right turn lane west to north, but that is not in the hopper for...
That's really needed. At South Elgin High School and
right.
The other grade school that goes in there, I've heard so many complaints about the jam up out there during the school year. Yeah, clear back, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Single lane, all the way down. Right.
Yeah, there's got to be something we got to do about that.
Well, we'll have to just, I mean, we've tried to get some of that funding, but we'll just keep asking.
Mm-hmm.
The other item is bike path maintenance on page 234. We've been working with the Park District. The Park District actually has a grant. They're working on the South Bartlett bike path from Stearns up to the library entrance. And then we're looking to split with them from the library entrance up to the horse farm. The county did a portion of that last year, I believe. It's in need of being replacement. We'd be looking at putting in an 8-foot path. It's currently roughly 6. It's a high-use path, so we're looking at that. We also, if you've been on the Newport Trail, our crews kind of did a pilot and did about a 500-foot stretch south of Rosika Field. We paved that section. It went pretty well, so we're looking to continue going north and just having our crews do as much of that as we can. The South Bartlett Road one's a little tight for our guys to be able to get our machine. I think you're going to need a smaller machine, and it's got some slopes, so we're proposing to leave that one for the contractors. Parking lots, 236. The big thing on here, you'll see in year 23, 24, we've got Rosika Lot proposed to be resurfaced. It's a big number, but that's because when you resurface, you have to put curbs, pavement, storm sewer, lighting, you name it, to bring it up to snuff. So it's a big ticket item, but I know we've talked about it in the past. We were proposing to bring it back to the board and see if that's something that we want to pursue or not. This can use MFT funds because it's a public lot, so that's what we're proposing to utilize for it. The other question would be, I think we talked about this back when we talked about it before, but that could be a good point where we then hand it over to the Park District, and then they would take care of it moving forward. Something to throw out there. But
I don't think they want it.
What's that?
I don't think the Park District will take it.
They don't want it in the condition that it's in now, but if the parking lot was improved, you know, we just redid the fence there, we just did the roof on the concession stand there, it would probably be in the best condition ever to send it over to the Park District.
Just a quick question. That's a pretty good estimate, $900,000 to do that.
It's out several years, so it's hard to say where things are at, but if you remember,
How many
we
vehicles?
talked about,
I know. We've been kicking this around for years.
It's not a resurface, though.
It was,
I know.
I mean,
when we looked at it a few years ago, it was at $600,000.
it was like 6 or 7. It was closer to 7. So I'm adding, hopefully I'm high and it's going to come in much lower by then, but
We have time. I was
covered
just
and we're-
curious. I just asked for my own,
How many cars currently park there now?
15.
on a game weekend, it's full.
Yeah, and it's dangerous.
How many cars park there, and how many cars could park there once we get done?
Well, the benefit of getting it paved is you have it striped, it's clean, and then right now, it's kind of just a free-for-all.
Yeah.
You can't really mark it, so people park, and if you don't park great, then it minimizes. I don't know the total count. We did a concept plan, a while back. I don't remember what that number is, but I can send that out.
I just want to make sure if we spend 900,000, it's sufficient, and then people aren't, because now you're limited, you can't just, it's a free-for-all, so people are parking everywhere. Are people going to be parking up and down Newport? I mean, I want to make sure it's sufficient for what we're doing.
Oh, it's maxed out to what that area, that's the gravel area that's there now, it's maxed out to maximize as many parking spaces as possible.
I know one issue that we talked about was the ComEd easement. We would be paving into the ComEd easement, and if ComEd ever had to do anything, they could technically dig up this $900,000 parking lot where their easement is, and then where are we then? So I think that's one thing we also have to keep in the back of our heads once we decide.
Is that just the one end of it?
No, it's, the entire lot is on ComEd right-of-way, so that,
Really?
you're right, that is one of the things. Now, the chances of them having to dig up something,
There's nothing.
I don't know, they haven't done anything, but if they come in with new towers or whatever, we would try to steer them out of the lot, but that is one possibility.
It would just look very bad if we put a parking lot in and something happens. So maybe some good communication with Commonwealth Edison could go a long way.
Well, we would have to get permission in order to do it.
Yeah.
So we'll be in communication. If this project moved forward, we would have to improve it. We would submit plans, they would have to approve it, but they did have that stipulation that it's our property. If we need to get in there, we're gonna dig it up or whatever. But they don't have anything in the ground there now, but, you know.
You got economic development projects now, Dan?
Real quick, on 242, we got the Metro landscaping, that's a new project. We were able to get a grant, from Metro, and this is to enhance basically the railroad corridor with landscaping and redo the sidewalks. One of their requirements was no pavers. They don't want to pay for pavers. I think we're going to be bringing you next meeting at committee. We wanted to talk about the downtown pavers and whether there's another option to our design, where currently we got pavers on the inside, concrete on the outside. We're going to bring that to the board, I think, next meeting to see if you would look at some other options there. But, so this will be a improvement where we'll be improving basically on either side of the tracks. The green space that's currently, kind of refresh the landscaping that's currently there, add landscaping, and then what we're trying to do, Bartlett Ave is in need of pavement. A lot of that south side does not have curb, so we're going to look at putting this project in conjunction with our road program and do Bartlett Ave at the same time, so that we can kind of renew that whole stretch from western to eastern. So that's that project, and we are getting some grant funds from Metro to help pay for that landscaping and sidewalk. 258 was there any questions on the economic development items? Otherwise, I was going to jump to other.
Are you talking about the Brewster Creek stuff?
Brewster Creek stuff.
One thought I had is, I know back when our downtown TIF expired, there was a lot of projects that I think that we could have done with that money, but we gave money back to U46, Park District, Library Board, Fire District. So I would like to make sure, I know the Brewster Creek TIF district is going to expire soon, so I would like to make sure that all the roads over there are repaved and resurfaced and everything that we can possibly think of to use TIF funds to bring it up to par, because I don't want to see 3 years after the TIF expires, we need to redo the roads over there with MFT funds. We should be using TIF funds for that. So I just want to make sure that we use TIF funds and make sure that this is in good working order when they turn it back over to us. That's just one of my thoughts.
Wasn't that part of the redo of the TIF budget that they did for us last year?
Yeah, that's part of their, we issued another $3 million note. That's so they can finish up the Brewster Creek, industrial park and get it all up to speed.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like sidewalks, if there's sidewalk repairs, if there's street light, I know there's street lighting that's not working over there. This is stuff that we can use TIF funds for, so let's use TIF funds and not our general fund to fix stuff that we can take out of the TIF fund.
I don't know that there's enough TIF funds to resurface all those roads before the end of the TIF.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what the budget.
Fix whatever we can with whatever funds are available. I know the developer is using a lot of that for finishing off the development.
We do have priorities too, so.
Are we moving on to golf projects?
Golf,
Matt's been sitting here all evening. I'm sure that you're quite bored and you're ready to go home, but you want to say a few words about the golf projects? Thank you, Matt. Appreciate all the words you had for us. We have $20,000 in irrigation system. And I have to tell you, since Matt's been at the golf course, I've had nothing but compliments on the fairways and the greens. And now we're doing something quite unique. There's certain areas where we're not going to mow. Isn't that correct? We're letting it become natural grass. Help me out.
Yeah, we're letting areas that golfers don't hit into grow more of like a natural area. So like monarch butterflies, natural grasses, trees, weeds can grow.
Are you sure I haven't hit into those areas?
I don't think so. We'll keep you out of there.
only when it's for.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
So the irrigation fund, what are we doing with that? That's just to repair some of the areas that, I know we can't do a golf course for that, but,
No, for this year, the 20,000 is for the actual design of the irrigation system for the whole property, but it's just the design. But it's for the whole property.
okay. And we're redesigning it, why?
Well, the golf course irrigation system was built in 1999, and it's built out of PVC and has a life expectancy of roughly 25 years, depending on how you maintain it, the weather. So it's coming to the end of its life expectancy, so we're kind of just trying to prepare for having to rebuild the system.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
How is that being funded?
We have that listed as to be determined. We have not determined the funding source at this time. That's one of the things that that's why it's pushed off a year. We haven't, it needs to be done. It's an important part of the golf course. So that's a big decision that needs to be made in the future.
Thanks, Matt. Are you taking other projects? Or Dan?
I will.
Please.
Yep. We've got three items there. We completed the West Bartlett, Devon drainage swale, so if you've seen that one, that was an improvement of the bike path in Swale. We had some MWRD funding for that. Stormwater system improvements, you'll see in there, on page 258, we've got a couple items. We've got, for next year, we have some Oneida Pond, which is the one west of Western Avenue on the south side. If you've seen it, it pretty much never drains. And the guy to the east of there is always calling us. We're trying to clear it out. We said, let's look at improving it. While we were in the middle of that, we did the bittersweet treatment plant, and we had some off-site stormwater detention that was also required. So we kind of combined that bittersweet excess and actually can improve the detention in that whole basin and take care of, we have a fee in lieu with the bittersweet plant and apply that fee in lieu to build that project. So that's what we're planning to do there. It'll be more of a native plantings because everything that MWRD and the DuPage water, stormwater ordinance requires is more of a BMP, best management practice for cleaning the water. So it'll be more of a native planting, but it'll have more storage for that area. So we're anticipating doing that next year. But you'll see Country Creek is a new item, one that I've been working with Trustee GANDSEY on. This is in the area, we have, if you go to page 257, there's an overall map. It shows where the Country Creek stream bank stabilization. You wouldn't really know this until you take a walk in the backyards in this area, but those residents have, it's probably a good 15-foot drop-off from their backyard down to the creek. It's like the Grand Canyon of Bartlett, and there's all kinds of erosion going on. The hard part is, right now, the residents own to the center of the creek. So it's all residential ownership there. You can see if you walk it, and I'd be willing to walk with anybody if you wanted to look at it. People have tried different things to try to stabilize things. You've got sheds that are leaning, you've got fences that are falling in, you got trees that are falling in. It's an erosion problem, and it's something where it's a big ticket for homeowners to try to improve. So it's something that we've talked about, that this would be a project where we would look for grant funding out there to see if we can help offset some of those costs. But ultimately, the question for the board is there going to be any cost share from similar to the lead service stuff, is there going to be any cost share that we're going to ask these residents, since it is privately owned right now? Of course, if the village does a project, we would need to get easements from the homeowners. I don't think they would have a problem giving the easement if their backyard is going to be stabilized, which we've had several conversations with residents over the years of trying to improve this area. So it's a big ticket. That's an estimate that we got from a consultant right now. So it's the best estimate that we have right now until you really get into the design of what can be done there. But you're likely looking at a terracing, like multi-section wall type thing. But again, we would try to incorporate native plantings to stabilize the slopes and all that stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of those trees would have to go. So we'd be planting new trees to try to reestablish that. But it could be a good project. It would stabilize that area. We have it out there in a couple of years. But we really would need, because permitting-wise, it's going to take a while to get through it if you're talking permitting and grants. So that's why I have money in there starting for next year to start looking into that.
Dan, I've never been out in the area. I don't know specifically where you're talking. I know the general area, but I've never been specifically there. But, on the lake, we put a seawall in. Is that even feasible? Metal seawall.
I think if you're looking at grants, they're going to be looking at more of a eco-friendly, not a steel wall. They're going to look at stones and native plants that can stabilize it. But, that's an option for sure.
Matt can paint the white, never mind, don't say that.
How many homes are actually impacted by this, roughly?
I don't have that number, but it's from, if you know where Country Drive is, by our lift station, where the creek comes through, it's all the houses that run along Country and, what is that road on the other side there?
By walk.
What's that? No, it's not Francine.
Quite a bit.
It's on, Country kind of goes east-west and then it heads south. It's on the houses to the east side of Country on the north-south portion, and then the houses on the other street. Bob, do you remember what road that is? I'm drawing a blank right now. Brookside, I think it is. So it's the houses on the west side of Brookside, east side of Country.
Are there other homes in Bartlett that have any kind of similar situation where their properties are falling into a river?
Not that well, if you go up and down Country Creek, the erosion is happening everywhere, but it's more a couple feet. Where it just drops off. People mow to the water's edge, and you get that drop off, but that's like a couple feet.
And this is like
this stretch, this is a a drop-off. I mean, I'm not, I mean, I didn't believe it until
should almost
residents said, you need to come and see this, and I went out there and I said, holy cow. It is, if you want to go out, I know a couple people there that I've been talking to, they'll let us in their yard. It's something to see, and why something needs to be done.
Schedule a tour for us all to go at the same time.
We can try to get grant money for.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be looking at trying to, whether it's DuPage County, in our Army Corps, there's gotta be something along that stretch, that would at least help towards it.
Are we starting to have any problems with flow?
One thing that residents will contact us, they've contacted us to try to stabilize their slope, and that's when we say, well, it's private property. But we have told them if a tree has gone in or something has gone in and is impeding the creek, that's when I'll send my guys in to at least clear the tree or whatever debris might impact. Because if you have a tree that goes down, now all of a sudden the water, now it starts cutting the slopes even more, that's bad things could happen then. So we try to keep that stretch clear of anything like that.
And what does it drain?
It is draining all the way, Leisburg.
Yeah.
That all goes, so the creek, and it heads further north. And then it goes into the west branch of the DuPage is where it heads down to.
Okay.
So if you know on Stearns Road where the culvert was that
Right.
we did work on, that's that same creek.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
I think all I had, so.
Yep. Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Yeah, so.
President, that's all I have for this evening. Thank you very much.
So
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Hold on a second. Todd? Quickly.
So we can take out the $8,250,000 for Devon out of the year. What we would propose then is to be bringing capital budget for the 22-23 year of $28,733,530. So we move the Devon Avenue project out. Is that something
Until
that?
we have some more answers, yes.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Until we have more answers about MWRD and all the other stuff. Yep.
Agreed.
We have motion on the floor and a second. All in favor?
Who moved?
Me.
Can you take over the meeting?
I don't know.
Moved by trustee Ranky, seconded by.
Not the plan committee, right?
Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DEYNE?
Yes.
GANDSEY?
Yes.
Gunstein?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Swansky?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, sir.